Welcome to the Coach Johnny Mac Show. It's John McWilliams, your host as always. Got a real cool guest here tonight, former NHLer Nathan Perrott. Am I saying it right? Is it Perrott or Perrott? I'm sure you've heard it all.
Perrott is normally how it's pronounced, but it should be pronounced Perrott, but yeah, phonetically, but yeah.
Perfect. Well, hey,
much
man,
French
thanks.
in my heritage. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and you guys have a lot going on. I spoke with your partner there, Rick, with PPE. Can you want to tell us a little bit about that company before we dive into your career?
Rick and I have been friends for a long time, and I think it's almost 30 years now. We've been really good friends, and we've always kind of kicked at ideas of going into business, and then we eventually decided to go this way, and we're starting to host hockey tournaments, and our first event's coming up in January 5th to the 7th in Nashville. So we're really excited about hosting a tournament there, and we've got some teams from all around the country so far coming. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, I've dug into your tournament profile, and it's not just a tournament, right? It's an experience. You're bringing kids in and really giving them the cool experiences, and where's that first one? Tell our listeners, it's a pretty cool spot to go.
Yeah, well, it's kind of ironic. That's where I got my first NHL hockey experience was Nashville, and this will be the first hockey tournament we host. So that's kind of kind of funny. But yeah, the tournament in business, though, we were doing some recovery stuff to start out together, me and Rick, and we were noticing with the tournaments. And I have 3 sons that all played minor hockey. And I've grown up. My oldest son's playing U15 this year, so I've coached many tournaments and I've been to many as just a dad. And it's you see, I think there was like a missed opportunity for character development in some of these tournaments. So we're trying to offer a little bit more as far as we have a sports psychologist come. And we're having like a banquet with the kids and parents, and the sports psychologist will be speaking about character development issues like the sleep, is one of them, social media habits and the balance and how it drains your dopamine levels and that kind of thing, and then breathing techniques to be able to control your emotions and just stuff like that. You can take away, like, because I remember. Going up and playing in the OHL, we get this opportunity to learn these things and things that I use in my day-to-day life now. Where I work. Like obviously I'm just starting out with this business, but things I use every day to help be successful in life in general. Not just hockey, but these things. Like, I think that's one of the best things about hockey is how many things you learn in hockey and you use later in life to succeed. So we're just trying to help bring these things on, and we have a couple other things where we supply all the pucks, and they give them the pucks so you don't have to, because it is quite a travel for some teams to come. It's a destination as far as the tournaments go. So it's it's not just come play hockey, cookie cutter in and out. I know you've been to lots of tournaments yourself. I know we talked about it before, and how it's they just kind of get you in, get you out, and the hockey's good. It is, and that in itself is a good experience. But I think there's just more we can offer here, and we have some NHL players coming for meet and greet as well. So that's pretty exciting, and we're offering 15-minute periods. So there's, just some other things we're adding to the whole experience to really make it, more than just play some games. Here's your trophy and the way you go home.
Well, that's great, and like we discussed there, a lot of my audience right across North America, are involved in minor hockey. So I encourage everybody to check out properformanceevents.com. And take a peek and see what's happening. And if any questions, I know that there's some contact info to get a hold of Rick or yourself, and certainly reach out and love to see a good turnout in Nashville for sure. That's awesome. So as always, folks, our show here is brought to you by the fine folks at Don Cherry Sports Grills right across Canada. I think that I've heard that they're looking at some spots in the U.S. now as well. So outstanding product, great wings, and everybody support them. So what we're going to do here, and I explained it to you, Nathan. I like to talk about the journey, right? Where you started, where you came from, kind of how your path to get to obviously the pinnacle of what all us young Canadian guys wanted to get to, and that's the National Hockey League. And kudos to you for getting there. So you grew up in Owen Sound, Ontario. Give our listeners that aren't familiar with the area kind of a geographic locale where Owen Sound is.
Well, it's from Toronto. You're out east, right? So Toronto would be the closest major city, I guess. It's like 2.5 hours southeast, or like Owen Sound's 2.5 hours north and a little bit west of Toronto. It's right on the mouth of Georgian Bay, close to Lake Huron. It's it's a beautiful area. The Niagara Escarpment, which runs from Toll Memorial all the way to Niagara Falls, it runs through it. It's pretty place to grow up, and they call it God Country, where a lot of the locals would, right? Because it's a pretty picturesque place. Lots of waterfalls around, and it's pretty amazing place as far as hiking and that kind of stuff.
And how old were you when you started playing hockey?
4. I started playing at 4. Yeah, I wasn't very good. Very good for a while. Kind of funny. I played house league all the way until my second year Pee Wee, which I guess what's that now? I should know the age.
U13.
Yeah, is that U13? My second. Yeah, it would be U13. Yeah, I don't have it all, but yeah, then I didn't play in they called it a rep team, and then there was like an AE team.
Yeah.
So I played on the AE team, or select team is what we called it back then. And then I had a decent year, and then the next year I went and played on the representative team, or the rep team, which was we were a single A team. And then I played 2 years, like my U14, U15 years. So I played single A hockey in Owen Sound. We played against double A teams in Kitchener and Guelph and some of the other bigger cities, because Owen Sound's a pretty small town. It's only about 20,000. Well, I think back then it was 20,000. It's like 23,000 now or something. So it hasn't really grown much. But So we, then I went and played junior C hockey when my U16 year, my draft year, and I played in a town called Walkerton. It's I actually played senior hockey there at the end of my pro career for a little bit, but
they had they had a bad water crisis back
then. That's probably what they're most famous for, infamous for. Yeah, it was pretty horrific thing that happened there to the local population. Yeah, it was weird. I lived in Walkerton afterwards because I worked up a nuclear power station here called Bruce Power.
Yeah,
and I coached the Bantam team. I don't know, it's called Bantam then, but it was like U14 and 15 mixed.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're supposed to call that. Anyway, what the appropriate term for that is now. But yeah, it was funny because a lot of the kids, they great kids and stuff, just like you could tell they were a lot. It was like, I don't know, some kids had some stomach issues and stuff because they were just really small when that had happened. Like they were just babies at that age group, right? So it was pretty bad. But anyway.
Yeah, that was awful, and to be sort of entwined in that community, I'm sure would have been gut wrenching. Sure, during some of that. So what we do here usually, Nathan, and we bring on a young fella here, a little moving up into U11, first year U11 this year. As an underage, so he as Jack, and he's going to ask you a couple questions. I'm going to add him to the stream right now.
Oh, nice.
Hi,
Jack.
Hey, Jack.
How are you? How's it
Good.
going? Are
Good.
you going to, do you have any questions for Nathan today?
Yeah.
You got some questions?
Yeah.
What do you got?
What was your favorite NHL when you were a kid?
Say that again. Sorry, you broke up.
What was your favorite NHL team when you were a kid?
My favorite NHL team when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I should say Toronto because I played for the Leafs, but but it was actually I liked Edmonton a lot and Chicago were my two favorite teams when I was growing up.
Nice. What was your favorite player as a kid?
My favorite player?
Yeah.
Oh, when I was a kid, I'm trying to think who would have been. I don't know. It was funny because my favorite player when I was a teenager was probably Bob Probert or Rick Tocchet, which I got to meet both of them, so that was that was really cool to get to meet them. I really liked Rick Tocchet though. I liked the way he played, and same with Bob Probert. Played competitively and scored goals, had skill, but worked hard as well in the corners.
Looked after their teammates?
yeah. Had a few fisticuffs. Yeah.
What was your favorite NHL team now?
My favorite team now? Well, I do a lot of stuff with the Toronto Maple Leafs alumni, a lot of events, and try and help raise money for different charities and stuff. So I definitely would say Toronto is because we are very, very good to the community, and I mean, they give me the opportunity to help out and try and give back when I can.
Do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs will win a cup soon?
Next year, it's always next year, right? Next year, but I don't know. They have a really strong team. I mean, like 32 teams in the league now, and they're all trying to win, so it's tough. But I think I mean, they're close. They're definitely on the right track here. I mean, I'm hoping. I got my fingers crossed that they'll win this year, but they're right close. They're in the top of the league for sure. So.
Yeah, we talk about it. I go on some of the other podcasts. There's a Leaf one that I'm part of, and we talk about, people say, oh, how can they could not win for the last, get out of the first round for the last, 18, 20, whatever years it is. Anybody can, if you get in, you're one of those 16 teams that get in and you just get hot at the right time, your goalie's going, you stay healthy, anybody can win. So it's a crapshoot, right? But Toronto's there. They're right there. If everything kind of falls their way, they could be there, Jack, I think. And, you got to be lucky. You got to be good, but you got to be very, very lucky in this day and age because it's a fine line between winning and losing, right?
Yeah.
But thanks, Jack, for your time. Hey, have anything else to ask Nathan?
No.
No?
Okay. I'll tell you, Jack, the Leafs, the last time they got in the second round, I think they did last year too.
You were there.
I was there the time before that, yeah. They got rid of me, and they didn't make the playoffs for 8 years, and then however long it was, they didn't get out of the first round. But
We're going to start getting the Nathan Perrott curse trending on social media.
Yeah. Well, I got rid of a couple other players that year too. So Gary Roberts, I think, was one of the more.
Yeah, pretty good one.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks, Jack, and we'll see you next time on the show, pal. Talk to you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, he enjoys that. He comes on and. He being a Leaf guy, he was pretty excited. Obviously, he's too young to have seen you play, but it's a nice little thing that, and his buddies will tune in and watch, and he'll get to the rink and be like,
yeah. Well, once in a while, the Maple Leafs Network TV show will show a game I played in. Once in a while, I've seen it, but yeah, far between. But yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So you went from sort of you played at the rec, and I love this, Nathan, because I tell a lot of the parents that I do in my development kind of career, everybody, if my kid doesn't make AA when he's or AAA when he's 8, he's done. And I'm saying the opposite. No, that's not true. You know, if your kid is good and he wants to be there, they're going to find him. There's enough scouts, especially now with the multimedia that's out there. Everybody's got a different path. So I'm real interested to hear. So you go to junior C, you were already starting to, what size were you at 15 there when you went to?
Oh, I was big. I was a big 15-year-old. I was probably 5'11", 6 feet almost, maybe 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was a big kid, and I was, yeah, I was fairly strong. I know that I was really strong by that age, but yeah, I don't know. I got hit. I don't know. I just remember we had a really tough team that year in Walkerton, and there was a lot of fighters, and I didn't fight much that year, a few times, and I, handled myself well, but I didn't have to fight a lot because we had so many tough guys that year. It was kind of funny how it went, but I had a decent year. I got rated to go in the OHL draft, and then I didn't get drafted.
Yeah. So you end up in St. Mary's.
Yeah, a friend of mine I grew up with, he was playing junior B there. When I was in junior C, he took off too and played junior B. He was a goalie. He actually played a game for the Maple Leafs. But he called me up and said, Nathan, why don't you come down and try out for St. Mary's? And since I had my release from Owen Sound, I could go. Walkerton was fine to let me go down there. So I went down and tried out, and I remember I was almost going to get cut. And then I end up last day, a guy I'm friends with, he had a good career in the Central Hockey League for years, Mike DeGers, but we just happened to be rooming together when we were trying out and became friends, and he was like, you got to fight because they're not going to keep you if you don't fight. So I went out and fought. We were playing against the London Nationals, which is their junior B team, and I fought their tough guy, this 20-year-old who was, a bouncer at a bar. And he's like 6'4", 235 pounds, and I convincingly won that fight. Just to say, yeah, I won it so well. He signed me, I believe, it was either that night or the next day. They signed me, and kind of led to me having a run of fights for the next. I think it was like something crazy, like 28 games straight I fought, or it was a lot. Because I remember the first half of the year, I was just on the fourth line, and I played like two or three shifts a period. And by the time the end of the second or third period rolled around, because he got kicked out of the game for fighting, I was looking for a fight, So I fought a lot that year, and then the second half of the year, my game started catching up with the speed, and my skills started catching up with more practices and stuff. And then I ended up becoming one of the better players on the team, where we ended up winning the championship that year in our league or whatever. Then we lost in the Sutherland Cup finals to Marty Turco's team. But yeah, I ended up, but in the championship, we were playing Mark Hunter's team in Petrolia. And I ended up, I don't know if it was game 6 or it was game 6. I'm pretty sure I scored the overtime winner, and kind of got the playoff MVP, and then ended up getting drafted the second round to Oshawa, where I wasn't expecting to get drafted at all. You know what I mean? I already missed my draft, and I actually set a record that year for the highest draft pick for a year not taken. If that makes sense the way I'm saying it.
For your second year, yeah. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Well, but now they don't have that.
You went the second round,
right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. They've segmented it now, first 3 rounds or something like that. You can go back and interesting. So, and it's an interesting time to go to Oshawa because it's kind of post Lindros, right? Lindros had been there. When did he left? So Lindros would be. He's a 70 or 73, I think. So he
I actually got to play with Eric
or 3 years prior.
I played with Eric in Toronto. Really nice guy. Really crazy how hard that man works out back in the day. I was like, yeah, it was. I could see why he was so good because he was like crazy in shape. But yeah, he like Mark Savard was on the team that year, and Mark was a very, very, very talented hockey player as far as creativity and skill and be able to make passes. And yeah, he was. And I just happened to get on a line with him like the second week I was there. Someone, I mean, I was more his protector and stuff, and I'd make sure he had the room to do what he needed to do, and
Yeah.
he led the scoring in the scoring race that year. I think he had 150 some points or some 54, I think it was. But yeah, he had a really strong season, and I mean, I ended up with 32 fighting majors, and I think I had 18 or 19 goals that year and 46 points, something like that. Anyway, I had a strong rookie season, and I mean, it would have been a strong second season for most people too, right? So it was,
Yeah,
it
absolutely. Yeah.
was enough to
And
get
then
me
that was
drafted.
your draft year, right?
What's
That was
that?
your draft year.
That was, yeah. I remember Wayne Daniels, who was the GM in Oshawa, halfway through the year, maybe a little over halfway, he goes to me, "Do you have an agent?" And I was like, "Well, I think I do, but I think he got arrested." So, because I have this guy who, anyway, I haven't talked to the guy ever since, but he got arrested for some kind of insurance fraud thing or whatever. I don't know what was going on, but yeah. So we kind of had a chuckle about that, and then he's like, "Well, you're gonna need an agent." And he's like, I was like, "Oh, really? Why?" And he's like, "Well, you're gonna get drafted." I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." I had no idea, right? I was like, I didn't even think about I'd never thought about getting drafted to the NHL. I guess, other than being a dream, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here I was, like, my GM of my junior team telling me I need to get an agent. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So then, you go, I mean, second round, 44th overall to New Jersey, and they were winning cups then. That was the heyday of
Well,
Martin Brodeur and Scotty Stevens and
yeah, no, I got a funny story about that. So '95, they won the cup. That was their first cup they won back in the run, and Scott Stevens had won the Norris Trophy that year. Anyway, so my first day at NHL camp, I'm in an exhibition game, or like we're playing a inter squad game. Sorry, I'm trying to get the right word here. Inter squad game. Excuse me. And I'm coming down on a one-on-one and Scott Stevens. Like, I was a right wing, so I came over to the left side. The left winger kind of chipped it by his winger, and Stevens had pulled out of the zone, and I was coming with speed on him as I picked up the puck, and I bounced the puck between his legs, sidestepped him, and went in on the goalie. I don't know, Brodeur or Terrell, I can't remember which boy it was, but and shelved it like top blocker and scored a goal, And I'm like, this is the best the NHL's got. Like, where's my contract? No, it was so lucky. I really mishandled the puck. I went to stick handle and it kind of bounced. And I went to try and settle it down, and I hit it up more, and it bounced in between Scott's legs. He looked down to get it, and I just had so much speed from coming across the zone, slashing across the zone, and I went right by it. Like, he got flat-footed, and I just kind of got lucky and away. The goal wasn't luck though. I was shooting where I was aiming, and it went where I was aiming that day. It was a nice goal, but yeah, no, it was pretty funny. And the next day, I come to the
that's
rink.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
a great. Yeah.
I come to the rink the next day, and John McLean, who was the captain, he's standing there beside Scott, and they sat beside each other in the locker room. And he looks at me. He goes, "Hey, did you undress any other Norris Trophy winners on the way to the rink today?" And I was like, "Whoa, be quiet! Don't make him mad. He'll kill me." That guy, Scott Stevens, man. I don't know if any of you have ever met him, but man, that guy is strong. Like, he is an intense, strong man. Like, he competed. Like, I couldn't believe how intense and how, like, yeah, he was a pretty amazing guy. Anyway. I'm glad I got that moment in my life.
Yeah, he could fight. He didn't have to fight very often, in the NHL, because I think when he did, he really, guys remembered him. So interesting that. So you go back to Oshawa, you go to your first camp, you go back to Oshawa again. Over a point a game. 30-goal year, 150 minutes, really kind of trending in the right direction to become a good, solid pro. And you get rewarded at the end of the 95, 96, and you get called up, I guess. Did you guys not make the playoffs in Oshawa? Is that what happened?
No, we made the playoffs. We just got put out in the first round. So I ended up going to Albany and finishing the regular season. Yeah.
So
I believe it was Kingston that put us out there in the first round.
Was it? So a couple of names on that. An old friend of mine, Darren Kimball, would have been on that.
Darren.
Kimby.
Yeah.
I knew Kimby here when he was in Halifax in the American League here. I was playing junior.
Yeah. Yeah, really good guy. Yeah.
So we became good friends years and years ago. And And another guy that was on that team, and I had him on my podcast a couple weeks ago, Bill Armstrong, not the big defenseman, the forward that invented the Michigan. Remember Bill?
Yeah, he was the one that
He's the guy that did the first.
I don't know why they called it the Michigan. The first time it got fame was because that kid, he taught him to do it. Did it. That was where it got original. Yeah, I've seen him do it a bunch of times.
Yeah, so we had him on a couple weeks ago. Real good guy.
Yeah.
Had a great chat with him. And, so yeah, they were on that team. So, but then you go back to Oshawa, and obviously you start there and get traded to the Sioux, right? And was that Joe Thornton's last year?
That was, yes.
Okay, so I would have been and did you play the rest of the season?
Yeah, I broke my leg though. Like I was on pace for about 45 goals that year.
Yeah.
And I was on like a 14-game point streak, and then I ended up taking a body check, and the ice was soft, and I had new skates, and they got into a rut, and my whole body turned as I took the check, and I was trying to just skate out of it, but my foot didn't turn, and my body twisted, and I had a spiral fracture of my fibula, and I was out for like 8 weeks. I rushed back and played a few games in regular season trying to get ready for playoffs, but I wasn't really ready to come back. I probably shouldn't have pushed it so hard, but I was playing for a contract because I had a late birthday, which instead of going back into the draft, I became an unrestricted free agent, which is why I didn't go to play in the American League that year, because I had an offer from Jersey to go play in the American League, but I shouldn't say it was bad advice. It was the correct advice from my agent for sure. I did end up getting twice of what Jersey had offered me in the Anglos, but I like to think back and I look at like the way Lou Lamoriello operates, and he's very loyal to his guys, and they were the best development team in the NHL back then for sure. So it was kind of like maybe it would have been better off to sign with them and have them turn me into a better player. Maybe I would have played more than 89 games in the NHL, but you never know, right? You live and learn, and it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would have been at your last junior game because I remember, obviously I had been playing in Europe and I was done now for a few years, and I had settled in Guelph, Ontario, and that's who you guys played.
Yeah, they put us in. Did you? So Brian Wiesenberg, you ever see it? Remember that name? We're up in the Sioux, and we won the first game. We're playing the second game, and he I forget how what happened. There was one of the linesmen were injured, so we only played with one linesman and one ref because you only had one ref back then, right? So the other linesman, this was late in the third. We're up by a goal, late in the third period. The stick breaks. One of the linesmen, he turns to pick up the puck or broken stick, so his back is to the play. The ref is on the other side of the net. Wiesenberg grabs a loose puck out of the air with his bare hand and throws it into the net. And it counts as a goal because no one saw it, right? They didn't have video camera or anything like that back then. So, well, they had video cameras, but they weren't they didn't use them for that kind of stuff. Anyway, so then Wiesenberg comes out, and we go to overtime. Wiesenberg comes out and scores a nasty goal. Like, it was an amazing goal in overtime, right? But our whole team just, like, the whole balloon burst. Yeah. Anyway, we just kind of fell apart, went Yeah, we went to Guelph and they beat us, and yeah, I remember it was very disappointing because I end up getting traded from Oshawa to the Sioux to play with Thornton and go for a run, and then Oshawa ends up winning the championship, which I was really happy for my old teammates because some great friends there and good guys, and I'm glad they won. But I wish I was a part of it too. But but yeah, kind of funny.
It's a fine line, man. It's a fine line. And that was the last ever. You remember the old Guelph
Yeah.
Memorial Gardens? That was a tight rink to play, and that was the last series in
Yeah.
that rink. And then they opened the Sleeman Center the next year, down the new one. So, yeah, cool. Hey, listen, Nathan, I'm just going to pause here. I'm just going to play an ad for our sponsor, and then we'll keep at it here. Let me see here. I don't have my buddy Nolan helping me out. Let's try it here. Real big shout out to our sponsor, Don Cherry's Sports Grill. Don Cherry's is obviously a synonymous brand with excellence in hockey and great food. Visit one of the Don Cherries that's out there and do yourself a favor. They're also in big time expansion mode right now, looking for new licensees across the country, looking for existing facilities, existing restaurants that are looking for a new fresh look. Hit them up at doncherrysportsgrill.com and check it out. Thanks again for all your support. Perfect. Yeah. So that's the so you wrap up a little earlier than you wanted to, and you end up here. Did you start in Jacksonville or Indy that year?
Indy. I played a couple games in Indy before I got sent down.
Yeah.
I played one game. And I remember this because it was a good lesson I learned that day. So we're playing Milwaukee, and Kerry Clark, who's Wendell's brother, scores a hat trick, and he does the moonwalk down center ice after his scores his third goal, right? And then funny, but not when you're the guy that has to go fight him, right? But I I'm thinking I want to score a goal. Anyway, I didn't fight him. And then the next day, miraculously, I'm on a plane down to Jacksonville, or I drove my car down. Whatever. Anyway, I live in Indy and going to Jacksonville. So I remember the next game I played against Kerry Clark.
Yeah.
The next season.
It was a different world then. I'm looking at the Indy roster.
Yeah.
Were you playing Portland? Is that where he was at that time?
Portland? No, it was Milwaukee. He was in Milwaukee at the beginning of that season.
Oh, okay. So I'm just looking at some of the names on this Indy team, and it's like, holy smokes! There's a couple, Ryan Huska and Glenn Featherstone and Kevin Miller.
Yeah.
Here's a guy. He was on my show last week, and I saw him in Charlottetown on the weekend. Dave Ling. Remember Dave Ling?
Oh, Linger. Yeah.
David Ling.
Yeah, I played with him in St. John.
I saw him in Charlottetown on Saturday. Yeah, you would have played with him there. Alfie Turcotte would have been the end of his career.
Yeah. Oh, he was great. Alfie was awesome.
Alfie was a beauty, and I played with his brother Jeff in Toronto, his younger brother Jeff. But I think they still have stick handling schools all over the place.
They do, yeah.
Just look at Dan Cleary in Newfoundland, wow. It's crazy. And then if you go through and just to attest to our younger listeners with the story you just told is if you look at this, there's like 45 guys on a hockey DB in the I back then, because there was so many guys going up and down and up the other way and sideways and traded and this and that. There's you don't see that kind of movement anymore.
Yeah, like Chicago was sending players to Indy, but they were also sending players to Portland as well, Maine. So we had some movement from guys going from Portland back to Indy and that, and it was kind of weird, but anyway, it was a good experience though. Our first year, our coach Bob Ferguson was great too. So.
Yeah, so you kind of you bomb around. You're a little bit of a journeyman here for a couple of years. And then that brings you to 2001, 2002. Now, did you make the team out of camp? Forgive me for not knowing this, but did you make the team out of camp, or did you go to Norfolk?
In Nashville, like the first time I got called up.
Yeah.
No, like I went to camp that year in Chicago, and I went down to Norfolk. And then when I was in Norfolk, like I played 5 games there, then I got traded to Milwaukee. So I went from the Admirals to the Admirals, which was kind of funny. So, anyways, Norfolk Admirals and Milwaukee Admirals. But yeah, anyway, so I played there until it was like February. It was right before the Olympic break. They had the Olympics in Utah. Yeah. Right before that, anyway. So I got. I remember in January, Claude Noel, he was our assistant coach, and he was. I remember hearing him tell the head coach to play me more because I was playing really well. And I don't know what it was that year, but I got like stronger, like I got my man strength, and guys I was having a hard time with in fights in pro. All of a sudden, I just started blowing guys up. So I got really tough real quick, and then I just started beating guys up really quick. And anyway, and I had 6 goals in the month of January, and I had a bunch of fights. And then that was coupled with Stu Grimson having a career-ending injury in a fight against George LaRock. They called me up. So I went up, and I remember my first game in Columbus, my first shift, 5 seconds in, Steve What's that? Sorry,
Barry Trotz would have loved you.
Yeah, right? Yeah. 5 seconds into my first shift, I get a clear-cut breakaway from the blue line in. I'm in on a breakaway. 5 seconds in my first NHL shift, and man, I was squeezing my stick so hard. I'm pretty sure I broke it just by squeezing it. Anyway, I ripped that puck so hard, but it went like probably about 10 feet high and 10 feet wide. So I was going like, I'm going to go top glove, and no, I would have missed a soccer net. I was shot so hard. Anyway, so I was like, next shift, I sit there after the shift, I'm sitting on the bench, and I'm like, man, that really, really sucks. Anyway, so next shift, I get out there, neutral zone, I'm lined up against Jody Shelley, and okay, it's time to do what I'm here for. Give him the tap. And I'd fought him a couple times before in the minors, but yeah, he got a lot tougher, I'll say that. He can sure punch. I was like, yeah, but a buddy on my team, Brett Harkins, he was telling me that that was the only fight Jody had lost all year. And he said he beat up The Rock, he beat up everybody. He goes, that was the only fight he lost that year. So it was a good fight. Anyway, throw back and forth. And then the next game I went, and we're back in Nashville, and we're playing Florida. I remember first shift, Peter Orell has got his head down, skating across out of his own blue line. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he was just skating like no one's gonna hit me. Like no one out here is brave enough to run me over. And I came flying off the bench, and man, it was one of the best open ice hits I've ever thrown. I put him right on his butt, and his gloves flew off, and he got up, and I was just standing there waiting for him. So,
awesome.
Yep.
I remember you. I remember you as a guy that certainly looked after your teammates, but you had a lot more skill than people gave you credit for. I think.
Thanks. I was more probably just more sheer, like water keeps flowing. I just keep working, just keep shooting, just keep hitting, just keep going. Right, no matter. Just keep working hard. Eventually, I get enough shots, one is going to go in, kind of thing. But yeah, I thought the game well offensively. I think that was the one thing I had good instincts offensively.
Well, those are the guys that if you look at the guys that kind of sustained. There's a guy in Toronto now, and he's another Ontario kid, and I worked with him when he was a kid. Kyle Clifford is a perfect example of one of those guys that he would go and he finish his checks and played on the fourth line. But he sustained that, and he was able to, won a couple cups in LA, and he's kind of at the end of the line now, but he knows it, and he's having fun. He's got 3 boys all playing hockey. One of them plays against Jack at the same age as my boy. But no, real interesting. So you get that stint in Nashville, 22 games in 01-02. And then the next year, and then you're up and down a little bit. Then the next year you only get 1, You only get one in, and I noticed that there's no goals, no assists, no penalty minutes, but 5 minutes. Who'd you fight in that game in 02-03, the one game you
Oh,
played?
yeah, I remember that well because he broke my face. Jamie Allison, yeah, he broke my orbital bone. And
Really?
yeah, literally. I should have had a plate put in,
Yeah.
or something, because it never healed right. I remember that.
Wow.
It never healed right. But yeah, Jamie's a buddy of mine too. We'd fought in exhibition games, and I kind of, I was gonna say, it was a pretty even fight, but then I guess I don't know what happened, but somehow I hit him late. He thought the fight was over because we thought the linesman had come in, and I still was going. He's in, like, I'll give him credit. He's a pretty honest guy, so I don't think he was wrong for his thinking that. Anyway, so I dropped him pretty good actually, and then me not thinking, I just excited to play an NHL game. I wasn't thinking he's probably coming for me, and he was ready and came for me and got me. Anyway, yeah. So it was a guy. I thought it was a decent. Actually, if you watch it on YouTube, you just watch him like hit me continuously. It doesn't even look like I throw a punch, but I remember throwing lots of punches. I think it was the camera angle or something, but because I remember we're both in the doctor's room together afterwards, both getting stitched up because I don't know. He had to get stitches too, but yeah. Anyway, so.
Oh,
yeah, I had a rough year that year. It was just, I don't know, didn't go well. I ended up getting traded to St. John's and from Nashville to Toronto, and then I went to St. John's. Yeah.
You played with a good Sass boy in St. John's, Reagan Kelly, we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
So he's from, funny, the hometown he's from is where my wife Mindy's from, and it's a little town called Imperial, Saskatchewan, and I bet you there's about 200 people there now. But when they were all growing up there was 4 or 5. Well, they had Reagan. Then there's a guy, Chris Knobloch, who coached in the minors, and he coached Erie when McDavid was there in the OHL. And then there's a goaltender that played for Nashville, and now he's with the Phoenix organization, Connor Ingram. There's another Imperial, like a town of 300 people. All these guys come out of it's crazy. Right?
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. Yeah, that's percentage-wise, that's pretty.
So I want to talk about. I want to get your crazy numbers. So the Quebec Major Junior League announced, I don't know, about 60 days ago that fighting is now going to be banned. You fight in the queue and you're gone. I think there's some thresholds as well where your fifth fight. 5th game misconduct, you get a 2-game suspension. I don't know all the particulars. It's already starting to, so they're starting their exhibition season here now. And it's starting to, there's guys running around already. There's warriors out there that are sticking you and because there's no repercussions anymore. What are your thoughts on that? As a guy that, somewhat made a living, looking after and policing the ice when you were out there.
Like no one wants to see anyone get concussions and injuries from it, and there's a lot of stuff that goes with fighting, but I'm a guy that when I was done playing pro hockey, I had a pro boxing career because I wasn't done fighting yet, right? So like for me to say, it's is there a way of doing it where guys don't get injured as much? Probably. I think there's a way of helping that stuff. But fighting is fighting, and people get hurt, and that's the reality of the fight game. Now, I remember when I played hockey in Russia, some of the players would be like, "Why do you fight? Like, if you want to fight, go box." And I was like, "So I did." But they're like, "You want to play hockey? Just play hockey, right?" Like, so I get it's not that part of it, right? But like you said, guys run around, a lot more stick work, They let the game release themselves a bit. What right or wrong?
Yapping, you're not gonna have that kind of
Yeah, but a lot
that makes it tough for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. Like taking the fighting out of the game kind of makes it harder for the guys that maybe don't have as much opportunity to go to the stick handling clinics and
Yeah.
different camps and stuff like that. Maybe it takes away some opportunity for them to make the, you know what I mean? Because the one thing I always loved about hockey is you had to have courage to play, no matter how skilled you were. Because there was a guy like me running around that, if you're not, you know, you don't have enough courage to come into the corner, like you can outskill me, but you know, I mean, you're not going to outstrength me. So, you know, so you have to be smart enough and confident enough and courageous enough to take on those battles. But it seems like more and more that's kind of drifting out of the game, and it's evolving in the way, you know what I mean, the way the rules are going. So it's, you know what I mean, it is what it is, and you know what I mean, I'm not in charge. And
yeah, for sure. So 2003, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, you can't bite the hand that feeds you, right?
Yeah.
We've got,
Well, it is. The game's going to change. You got to evolve with it, right? That's just part of it.
Yeah, I mean, do I want my kid, you know, I've got a 9-year-old, do I want him, you know, in 10 years getting, you know, dealing with some of the things that I saw 40 years ago? No, absolutely not, right? But I also want him to understand, I want him to enjoy the game the way we did, where it was, you know, very, very, you know, you got to be men, you got to look after each other and things like that. So,
yeah,
you know,
as
dads, we look at it a little different.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah, I know, and I agree. I got, you know, I mean, I got 3 boys, and I agree. I think it's a hard situation. Like, you know what I mean? You don't want people injured, and you know what I mean? There is some real serious injuries that come from getting hit in the head too hard, and I definitely know that as I have, like, talking about broken bone on my face, and yeah. So yeah, it's
exactly.
tough.
So 03, 04, you make the Maple Leafs out of count, right? You never played.
Yeah, I wasn't expected to make it, but I know they had a split camp. So half the guys went to Sweden and half the guys went to Kitchener. And I was the only guy in Kitchener that made the team that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you must have willed your way in. What did you do in camp that maybe brought notice to yourself?
Oh, I'd say I had 9 fights and 8 games, and I had a few points too along the way. So yeah, as we're talking about fighting, but no, I did. I played really good hockey too. It wasn't like I just, and like, you know, I fought a lot, but my game was more the body checking. Like I was, you know, I mean, I wasn't a great fighter, I wouldn't say. Like I was strong enough I could compete with real good fighters because I was that strong. But I mean, like if you look at my fight, I'm more of just kind of throw as fast and as hard as I can, and hopefully I hit you more, you know, kind of thing. Like I got a lot better at fighting after I was done playing hockey. When I took, I wish I would have boxed more before because I would have been a lot better hockey player for it. But you know, what I mean, my real skill was my body checking. Like I could skate really, really fast. Like I was. The Leafs did a skills competition, and I was the fastest skater on the team. Like I was, you know, I was like a 13 and a half, you know, lap, a 13 and a half second lap.
There's some pretty good players on that team too.
Oh yeah, you know, I was like, I could skate with any of them. You know, I couldn't play. I remember I actually got to start a game that year with Sundin and McGillney, and I was the most tired I've ever been in my life. Those guys, I could skate faster than them, but I couldn't play hockey near as fast as them. Oh my God, they were amazing hockey players. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I ended up with, you know, I've been a Leaf fan my whole life, and I remember that team very, very well. You know, that was a real good group, and for you being an Ontario kid to be part of that, just did you ever wake up some days and go, what the hell am I doing? I'm playing on the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, you know, I was pretty amazing. That was pretty much every day, but every day was like a tryout too, because I knew it was like, you know, I mean, you're just holding on and stay there. But it was, yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was like.
How was Pat Quinn to play for?
Oh, he was amazing. Yeah, he really was. He was. I don't think I ever had a coach, and no, I don't mean it as a knock to any other coach I had, but I don't think any coach I had was a good of a locker room presence and talk like before the game, and I get you all pumped up, like, and he had like this aura about him, like he was like almost, you know what I mean? He was like some wise old man kind of thing. Like he was obviously older when he was coach. I don't know how old he would have been then, but maybe
he would have been pushing 70 then.
Well, you think he was that old then? Was he? No, he would have been mid-60s, wouldn't he have?
Yeah, he would have been.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was 70, but you know, he had the gray hair. but he was big and strong. You knew like you had to respect him. But yeah, he was, anyway.
Well, she's had hands on him, or two of mine. His hands were.
Oh yeah, he was definitely a bear.
Yeah. So you get to do that. Then you end up, back in St. John's the next year. Then up for a few in 05, 06, and then you get traded to Dallas. Was that a trade or a waiver pick? How did you?
No, I got traded.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I don't know. Just
and then you played with Medano.
I went there. Yeah, the year I was in St. John's was the lockout year though. So that that really hurt. That lockout year really hurt me. Yeah,
right.
I just played my first full season in the NHL. I was, I hit the post like 5 times a year. My first year with the Leafs there, and then, then the lockout. A lot of the rule changes came in, and the game I was looked at like a dinosaur. I went from a young guy to an old guy really quick.
Yeah, that was the lockout, and then Crosby came in after.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a really strong.
And the clutching and grabbing was gone. You couldn't put your stick in their hands.
Yeah, but the lockout year, I had a really good season in the American League. Like I had like 35 fights and 16 goals and stuff. Like I had a decent season. I just I don't know. Next year I came in and they ended up going to Dallas, and like that team was hot. Like in every 10-game segment we won 8 or 9 games. We never had a lull in the season. And it was just like, they'd play me some games, and it was just like, I just couldn't get any momentum going, and I don't know how to explain it, but, there wasn't really ever a need to go find a fight because we were always up 2-0 early in the first period, right? So no one seemed to come look for me to fight. So it was almost like, it was just a weird season, and probably if I look back, if I could do it again, I would. Yeah, there would be some things I definitely changed in my season that year. But anyway, Dallas was a great team, great organization, great guys on the team. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and so Medano here, I saw you played with Medano, you played with Kimball. There was another guy that played on a line with those two in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, with the Raiders. And I wondered if you and I crossed paths with him in Europe. A guy by the name of Trevor Jobe. You ever run into him anywhere? He's a minor leaguer.
Trevor Jobe?
He was a 5th rounder to the Leafs. He'd be older than me, so he'd be born in 67 or 68.
Yeah.
And he had 95 goals in the Coast one year.
Really? Wow. No, I don't remember that name, but yeah, it's.
Never ran into him. Interesting. I thought maybe we'll call you.
Yeah. Did you know Reed Simpson then?
This is interesting. 06, 07, you end up in the Reed Simpson from Saskatchewan as well. Yeah. Tough.
Yeah. Flin Flon, I believe.
John Chiefs. Yeah. St. John Chiefs in the LNAH. You played 2 games in 06, 07 at 10 minutes. Who did you fight in that?
I honestly, I honestly don't remember. They're tough guys. I remember that. I think I won the fight, but
it wasn't Morasti or Bossy or anyone.
No, I was on both. They were both on my. Or no, both was on my team. Mike was on my team.
Was he?
Yeah, and that guy, like, he didn't speak any English. I didn't really talk to him at all, but I was there. But I mean, I don't know why they brought me in, because there were so many tough guys like Patrick Cote, Brandon Sugden. I'm trying to think of the other guy's name, but there was legitimately like guys that I played against in the minors, like 10 heavyweights sitting there in the locker room. I'm looking around. I'm like, why do we need me? It's like, anyway, but I came in. I played it. I played the weekend.
Well, and Morasti.
What's that?
And you never went back. So Morasti told me, and I want to get in now quickly about your experience in the KHL. And Johnny was over there. He's a friend of mine, and he was over there. And he said that they started some of the owners would bring in 2 or 3 tough guys on each team, and there'd be all these crazy fights and bets and bags of money and all kinds of stuff. Did you see any of that in the KHL?
Yeah, oh yeah, the bags of money. Yeah, I saw those. I saw the team I was on was the team that started bringing in fighters. And Reed Simpson, that's why I mentioned his name. Like I know me and Reed go way back. Like when I was 18, drafted to New Jersey, we ended up becoming good friends, and we're
Right.
still friends. Anyway, so he was a coach there. He played there the year before, brought me over, and I'm pretty sure it was the same team John had played for. Chekhov, the VT's Chekhov team.
I think that was, yeah.
Yeah, so like Reed was like the first NHL fighter that ever went over to Russia that like wasn't Russian, right? Because normally their imports were a lot of
Yeah.
Czech or a lot of European imports there, or really skilled guys. Anyway, so Reed did really well, and the guy that ran the team, he was different, to say the least. Yeah, he had some. He was, yeah. I don't know how much I could get into that, but yeah, he wasn't a nice human being for by any
Right.
means, but he owned a hockey team because his son really liked hockey. And I remember actually my second season there, I had to play a game with his son on my line. And I was like, I remember the coach, Mike Krushelninski was the coach that year, and he's like, Nathan, I hate to do this to you, but you got to play with Sasha. He's gonna play tonight. And like, honestly, this guy Sasha, like he was the owner, a nice enough kid or whatever, but not like his owner, like his dad, the owner, nice, I guess. But his 18th birthday, he was given a $500,000 Porsche sports car, right? So anyway, I got along with the kid, but so I had to go out there and make sure no one hurt this kid, right? And it was funny because no one was going to hurt him no matter what, because everybody knows who his dad is, and they know exactly what would happen if they did hurt him, right? So I'm playing with them, and the one guy, I forget what team we're playing, but the defenseman, he's carrying the puck behind the net, and Sasha's on his tail chasing after him. And everyone's yelling at the guy, watch out, watch out. And he's looking back, and you can see it. Like, what are you talking about? This kid ain't going to hurt me. And then all of a sudden he looks up, and there I am on the other side of the net. And boom. Hello. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But, yeah. No, I've seen some weird things over there for sure.
So one thing that I always try to talk about on this show is 6 degrees of separation and how you played with this guy somewhere and then maybe you played with him again or all that kind of jazz. So the very interesting. I'm going to wrap up your playing career here, where you ended up playing. Just let me go back to the screen. You went back in 2009-10 and you played 31 games for the Texas Brahmas in the Central Hockey League, and your coach was
Dan Wildfong. Yeah, Dan. We won when we were in St. Mary's together. We won the championship. We were on a line together, actually. Yeah, and he was the coach. He's still down there coaching. He's doing great. Does a great job. He gets a lot of people. They're in the junior league now in the Knoll. And a lot of the kids on his team end up with either D1 or D3 scholarships. He's running a real good program down there for sure.
That's awesome. But isn't that cool? So a guy you played junior with, won a championship with, is your last coach, right? That's it. That's
it is
cool.
kind of funny. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Love it. Who was the toughest guy you ever fought?
Yeah, I don't know. There you go. I've never been asked that question. It's funny you asked me. Well, I'll say what, Jody Shelley punched really hard, but so did Jamie Allison. But they were all pretty tough. I'll tell you, there wasn't, some guys you just have their number. Like Francis Lassard, I never could beat him. I think we fought like 5 or 6 times, and I maybe beat him once. And it was, I remember the time I did beat him though. It was kind of funny. How did that? It ended up being a full-on 6-on-6 brawl. Like goalies were going at it, and he had kind of suckered me when he was playing for the Phantoms, and I was with Norfolk. And I remember I was down on the ground, and he got grabbed by Ruben Nadur, and they started tussling, and guys jumped in. Anyway, so I pull myself together. I get up, dust the cobwebs off, and I go find Francis Lessard for a second fight, and I end up beating him the second time. But yeah, the only time I was able to beat the guy. I remember a couple draws, but he'd always had my number for some reason. But big lefty though, right? I never did well against the lefties for some reason.
No. It's you know what it's great to have you here. So tell me, we're going to just talk about your boxing career. You mentioned it earlier. I had made a note. So you didn't feel like you were done competing, let's say, and you threw your. How was that world? Because there's always been.
I always liked boxing.
Stories and how boxing and you would have been ready. Yeah.
Yeah, like I did a little amateur boxing when I was 15. When I was playing junior C hockey, I did a little I had one fight and I trained for about 6 months. That was about it. But I always enjoyed it. Right, it was good. And then I just kind of gave it up because it was getting in the way of hockey, kind of thing. Anyway, I should have stayed with it a bit longer, learned a bit more. But then the one summer I went out to Santa Monica to train for the summer, and I was training at this gym, and the guy that trained, I don't know why I can't remember his name. I remember his kid's name, Junebug, but his kid's Junebug. But anyway, he used to run camps for Sugar Ray Leonard back in the day. Anyway, so he was, yeah, and we had all these celebrities there, like Peter Berg, the director, the actor. He was there sparring. What's that guy's name? Gary Sinise. So I'd sparring with these guys, right? These famous actors and stuff. And you know what I mean? I'm just kind of like trying not to hurt them, right? Like, the trainer's like, yeah, get in there and let you just move around with them, right? But it was really the reason I was going is they had the top 10 model boxing right before I would show up. So I would always come early and warm up good and watch some of these girls punch each other. It was pretty funny, actually. But we're the full cage. But yeah, anyway, so it was. He would. The trainer though, he was like, "Oh, you could be a pro boxer, man. You can punch really hard." And I do. Like I always had a really heavy hands, right? Punch hard, but. Yeah. So I just kind of thought about it anyways. I went to camp in New Jersey and I hooked up with Tommy Brooks, and he was and Lou Duva. Somehow, I don't know how that all happened. I can't even remember how that happened. But Lou Duva sent me to Tommy Brooks, and I was training there for a little bit. And I met a guy named Mark Puttenvik, and they kind of hooked me up with some training in Toronto when I went back. And I was training out of Cabbagetown, which is a pretty famous boxing club in Toronto. And I started fighting amateur there. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it was kind of neat.
Yeah, so let's talk. So you do you do any coaching now? I know you got 3 boys that
I do. I help out with a guy named Aaron Brand.
One was a U15 now.
You know Aaron Brand? He led the OHL in scoring one year when I was playing there.
I know that name for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he runs a summer program called Vision. So I help out coach one of his teams for him. And
we played some of the Vision teams in Toronto 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was there. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I was there. We won the consolation. Yeah.
What age group were they?
U15. Yeah.
Okay, so Jack's team was 2014. It was an Atlantic-based team, and they won. They got little rings for it and everything.
King of the Ring. Yeah,
it was the Canland Cup or whatever. Yeah, but we played a Vision team for sure. That's interesting. Small world.
Yeah. No.
Cool. So let's get back into pro performance recovery and pro performance events, and talk about what you have got upcoming here, and really start to drive some traffic, get some people at your events.
Yeah, it's I know I talked about the sports psychologist and comes and does his talk. He helps improve ways to concentrate and breathing techniques and just different stuff you don't really think about. But then we also have our recovery zone, which we have these boots. I don't know if you've ever tried them, the recovery compression legs.
I haven't.
They're unbelievable how good they are. I don't know how to explain how amazing these things work on you, but you put your legs in there, you sit in them for 20 minutes, and then you come out and you feel like you're ready. You could play another 2 or 3 games after doing it. It's pretty awesome stuff that we have. So yeah, I really enjoyed
Oh, that's awesome. So the tournaments that are coming up here, I'm just looking at your let's see here, events.
Yeah, in Denver, and the end of.
I know the facility that you're going to be at in Denver too, and that's Family Sports Center. It's the Avs practice rink, so they actually practice right there.
Yeah,
and it's a real nice facility. I've done camps there. I think I'm scheduled to be down there in December to do a power skating program there, right at that same facility.
wow.
And then of course you got the Nashville one. What else are we looking at? Where else are you looking at going?
Well, we're in talks right now down in Florida in the Tampa area. I know we're talking about doing that, and we're looking. Where was the other place? San Diego, I think, was the other one we're talking about doing. So we're just kind of in the preliminary works and getting some other events going. Yeah. So the Nashville one, the arena there is owned by the Predators. So we're going. The one, there's 2 rinks what we have booked. So the one is where the Predators actually practice too, where the same practice rink I was at. It's a 2-sheet pad, but yeah, Nashville's actually a really amazing city. I know a lot of people go there for it's like the new mini Vegas. So the parents going to the tournament, probably just as much fun for the parents as it is for the kids. I know, because they were trying to create this whole experience. And
now, are the Predators home when
they are? They actually play on the Thursday night before against Calgary.
Perfect. Well, that's an outstanding trip. So, people out there listening, what a trip. You could fly into Vegas Nashville on Thursday morning, go and see an NHL game Thursday night. Then you got a hockey tournament, in Nash Vegas, right? Smashville. And maybe you guys should look at a program where you have a little babysitting service for the younger kids, so mom and dad can go.
Yeah, it's probably it wouldn't be a bad idea for that. Actually, yeah, the parents go out. Yeah, it's Second and Broadway.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I'm excited, and
yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and having yourself there as a tournament, host and whatnot will just enhance the experience because like we talked about before, you played there, right? That was your
I did. That's where I got my start. It's a great city, and I've really enjoyed all my time I've gotten to spend there over my life, and I'm looking forward to getting back there. Yeah.
Awesome. So check out Pro Performance Events, folks, and drive your talk to the coaches and managers and say you want to go there and you want to be part of it. Certainly reach out to Rick Monroe. He'll give you all the info that you need. There's contact information on the website. Nathan, thank you for doing this. This was great. I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit and learn about your career and like I said earlier, we're all jealous of. Somebody said to me one time. Somebody said. Oh, that guy. We were talking about somebody, long before I did the podcast. And he said, "Oh, he only played 2 games in the NHL." And I said, "How many did you play?" "Well, I did." I said, "Well, how many did you play?" "I played none." I'd give pretty well up anything to play those 2 games in the NHL. So anybody that did it and and sustained in the game, ultimate my respect and. I'd love to do it again. We're doing some cool programs coming up where we're going to have some old teammates. So I'm going to kind of bring on 2 guys that played with each other. Maybe.
Oh, cool. That's a good idea. Well, I'll say this: I only played 89 games, but I was in the NHL for 194 according to my pension plan. Anyway, so I was really good in the weight room.
Well, that's good, and that was a big, people don't understand that the way contracts work with just because you weren't playing that night, you were getting NHL money if you're with the team, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a great experience, and it's led to a lot of other great things in my life. So, I was lucky to get, I always say there's guys that played a lot more games that I thought I was better than. But there's guys I know that I was not nearly as good that never played a game. So, there's some luck and, you know, I mean, right time, right place, and, you know, staying healthy and that kind of stuff. Just sometimes, you know, the way it works out. But I mean, the lessons you learn in life from playing hockey, you know, I mean, you'll you know, I mean, whenever, I mean, that's what, you know, the one thing we want to accomplish with this hockey tournament is to create a love for the game that you keep playing for your whole life. You know, that was, I mean, one of the things me and Rick have always talked about, you know, so it's just, you know, trying to give back that way. But yeah, and, you know, I mean, I was obviously lucky enough to get to the NHL, and, you know,
Absolutely.
hopefully we can help some kids reach their dreams in the future.
100%. Well, thanks again, my friend. And as always, brought to you by Don Cherry Sports Grills and, you know, Bjorn Sports of Scandinavia. We got our new youth Bjorn sticks coming out soon. So thanks, Nathan. I'll talk to you here.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.